Hi, it's Richard from the Homeschool Freedom Club, and I've got another one in the series of interviews of how to home educate and make a living and to basically just balance your life, your work, and everything else that goes on when you home ed. Today I'm talking to Rochelle Hubbard, so welcome, Rochelle. Lovely to have you here.
I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Can you just give us a little sort of bit of background on who you are and what you do?
Sure, yeah. Okay, so I am a mother, obviously, of two. So I have Caleb, who is 14, and Savannah is 10. And I live with my husband, so I'm married, and we live in York
Yeah.
at the moment. I'll probably tell the story of how we ended up there in a minute and ended up here. I before I had Caleb, I worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers as a tax consultant,
Yeah.
um, doing executive remuneration, which is basically like share schemes, tax and legal implications of share schemes, and benchmarking salaries. So I was basically helping rich men be richer. Um, while I was there, though, I was also the kind of annoying person that used to email the whole floor of employees. At the time, recycling wasn't a thing like it is now, and it was a thing, but people just ignored it. And so I used to email the whole of the floor and be like, nobody's recycling. This is so annoying. So like 800 people would get this message from someone who was essentially just one level above a graduate at the
Yeah.
time. Um, but what happened because of that is the department I worked in was HR services, like client facing HR
Yeah.
services. And one of the partners of the firm got tasked with integrating sustainability and climate change into the HR services offering.
Right.
And so he said to his VA, that girl that keeps emailing me, she can help me. So I actually ended up, before Caleb was born, working majority of the time in the climate change and sustainability department of
Right.
PwC. So that was cool, and I actually really loved my job before I left. But my husband thought I would go back. He thought we'd need the money.
Yeah.
I knew that I wanted to be a full-time mother to Caleb.
Yeah.
He was a surprise for us, so we hadn't really got a plan. But I'd always read the Green Parent magazine even before I had children because I was interested in the kind of things they were talking about, the topics they were talking about, and my aunt had always very much inspired me. She breastfed for a long time, her daughter, and co-slept and sling wore and all the things that just felt very, very natural to me, seemed very natural. I didn't vaccinate. And so I was very, influenced by her. And so I didn't go back to work.
Yeah.
Um, and instead, I started to volunteer. I volunteered for the National Childbirth Trust and became a breastfeeding peer supporter. And then I very accidentally ended up becoming a health coach. Really wasn't in the plan, but I met a health coach. I had suffered from an eating disorder in my late teens and 20s. And meeting her really gave me a new perspective on what it means to truly take care of your body.
Right.
And I really, really felt very changed and inspired. So I wanted to be able to support other women with that. So I trained to become a health coach. I then went on to do some work with a lady called Miranda Gray around cyclical living for women because we are cyclical, not linear, like
Mhm.
men. So working with women around their cycle, and integrated that into my work. So I was already running courses and um, one-to-one work with women.
Yeah.
So I integrated that in. And then not long after Savannah was born, I um, very accidentally, because I was very against network marketing,
Yeah.
um, I got one of my clients who'd done my online program. introduced me to some essential oils, and I wasn't interested. And honestly, I didn't even know it was network marketing, because I would have completely ignored her if I had.
Yeah.
But eventually she said to me, would I at least be interested in hosting a workshop about essential oils for my community? So that happened in 2016, beginning of.
Yeah.
And even after, it was only at the end of that class that I'd invited 30 people, and it was beautiful. I'd done all this food, and
Yeah.
she said to me, "Oh, you should do this as a business." So I was like, "Oh my goodness, this is nowhere marketing. What have I done? Invited."
Yeah.
I was like, I can't believe it's awful. Anyway, I spent a month, because 15 people wanted to buy a kit of oils.
Yeah.
And she was like, and I wanted to buy the oils, if I'm honest. I did. I bought them. At the time, both me and my husband were not working for a corporate environment anymore. My husband had started wholesaling and distributing organic fruit and nut bar from Denmark. We went from having a really good income from both having corporate jobs to really, struggling to even afford to buy a book off Amazon if we wanted it.
Yeah.
Now, I never we had our house with our mortgage. I never compromised on our food. It's always organic, and that was never a compromise for me. But we didn't go on holiday, we didn't have extras, and so to buy this kit of oils, I had to sell a futon that we had.
Oh.
So I brought this kit of oils, and I then spent a month looking into the company, which was doTERRA, and I decided that it was something that I could I could advocate for, and I could integrate into my business. I was concerned it was going to affect the reputation I built up.
Yeah.
But I decided to do it, and within 8 months, I had one of the at the time fastest growing team in Europe. And within 16 months, my husband no longer had to work. And that was the situation that we had for 6 years, until we realized that it wasn't good for our relationship.
Right.
That it wasn't working. It was essentially working for me, and it was really not good.
Yeah.
I'd started to do a lot of learning around the feminine and the masculine, and I'd realized how much I was actually living in my masculine, which wasn't good for me. It wasn't good for him or us. And I really started to integrate that into my work. And all through, well, especially, I'd really gained financial sovereignty through doTERRA.
Yeah.
And through building that to the level that I did. And it really highlighted for me in 2020 and 2021, when everyone else was kind of beholden to the government. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people beholden to the government, beholden to family members, beholden to, or especially women anyway, very beholden to their partners, their husbands in terms of finances.
Yeah.
I really started to grow even more of a passion around supporting women, especially for me, because it's the majority of people that I work with, around financial sovereignty. And really the through line of my work is sovereignty and freedom, sovereignty around our health, around our finances. And then 2020 and 2021, also, I have organic veg boxes. As I said, they were quite limited. They became very limited in what we could have. Like food became, difficult to get hold of for all of us. And so it became even more clear to me that I needed to really learn a lot more about growing my own food, foraging.
Yeah.
So I did, and I started to teach it. So I ran a membership for women called the Mothership, which had these pillars of, this is all coming back to home ed, I promise.
Yeah. Sorry.
Food, so the food aspect, which was growing your own food and foraging, finances, which was this financial sovereignty piece, but then also family. So food, family, and finances. And what I was seeing even more during that time is that in order to control the population, it really helps to have a family unit that is divided.
Yes. Yeah.
Where
Absolutely.
there are, it does, right?
Yeah.
Where there are, but when you have a family unit that is strong, that is strong in its values, as
Yeah.
well. They know you know your children, and you know what you stand for, almost like the family crest, right? The
Yeah.
belief system of the family. It creates a unit that is very hard to then divide, and actually that, along with the society that has now been built where everyone is looking outside of themselves for
Hmm.
something to stand for, to support a cause, you know, to stand for and support, as opposed to taking personal responsibility for their own lives and their own health and their own sovereignty and freedom.
Yeah.
It makes everything very easy to, you know, control
Yeah.
ultimately.
Absolutely.
So that family piece was really important for me to integrate in. And then as part of that, also just understanding more about intimate relationships. So it then husband and wife and the dynamics of that,
Mhm.
and that kind of deeper work around why we've chosen who we've chosen, which is really to heal the traumas of our childhood, even if we don't realize that's why we've chosen them. So I then started to work around surrender and intimacy and sex in relationships. And so um and that was part of that sovereignty piece. Now at the same time, so we moved to York, and you can ask me a question in a minute now. We moved to York because I'd put Caleb, I tried to set up a Steiner school in Leicestershire where we lived when I
Right.
first had Caleb. And we had hundreds of people who wanted to send their children to the school, but only two of us were actually helping. And we applied for the academy status so that it would be a free school at the time when you could do that. And we missed it by one thing. It was so slight. But Caleb was little, and it was taking away so much of my time
Mhm.
that I actually decided, because he's bright, I
Yeah.
thought he'll be all right. He'll be fine in a state school. I just like convinced myself. But when he was halfway through year one, I took him to the doctor because he started to develop a tic.
Hmm.
And my doctor at the time, you know, I never go to the doctor. I only went to see her because she was a Chinese medicine practitioner as well.
Yeah.
And she said to me, he's got adrenal fatigue. Like, you need to
Wow.
stop doing the homework with him. And I just knew that I had to do something. So we actually moved to Derbyshire for the Steiner School there.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good one. And as it happened, it closed not long after we left. But we moved to York for the Steiner School here because it's a
Right.
very good one. But then so that was October 2019. Obviously, the children came out of school March
20.
2020. And by the summer, we knew we couldn't send them back because I was so, and I remember listening to a podcast about this. I was so shocked how the Steiner community and the anthroposophical community,
Yeah.
led by the doctors, approached COVID.
Yeah.
Like, for me, it was like, this is meant to be a school based on nature. Like, what is happening here? They had like so extreme, like more extreme than state schools.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
really.
wow. That's
Yeah,
surprising.
no, it was really
Wow.
extreme. And I I remember saying to Savannah was 6 going on 7, so she was about to start proper school. She'd been at kindergarten before that.
Yeah.
They start later at Steiner schools. And I remember saying to the person that was running the school, well, what if Savannah wants to hug her friend? She's very
Yeah.
in, she likes to connect with her friends. And she told me, I don't think hugging is appropriate at school anyway. And I was like,
Wow.
okay, yeah. I was like, okay, they're not coming back. Like, that's the
Yeah.
end of it for that. So that was 2020. Now, things are interestingly changing for us around this, and we can have a conversation around this, because I do believe that home
Yeah.
education, one of the amazing things about it is that it's flexible and people do it in different ways, and
Yeah.
you know
Exactly.
you can change your mind. Like, that was
Yeah.
something I realized right from the beginning. I can say I'm going to home educate today, but tomorrow I can say I'm not. Like, I can change my mind all the time. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of
There's
who I am.
yeah. No, there's some really interesting things that you sort of talked about there. I mean, for us, you were talking about a stronger sort of how strong family units are much more difficult for society to divide. And for our family, COVID actually was like a real defining moment because it actually brought us to really together. I know a lot of families it had the opposite effect and people had different views, but for our family and even my broader family, my sister, my parents, we all shared the same views on what was happening around COVID. And for my wife and I, it really brought us a lot closer together. And I hadn't realised before, but she was anti-vax. I had no idea, and our kids weren't vaccinated. Again, I had no idea because I used to travel a lot, and the
Okay.
letters used to come in from the GP, and then I'd be like, oh, we need to do this, and she'd be like, yeah, yeah, and the letters would sort of disappear, and I'd forget about it, and eventually we sat during COVID, we sat and had a conversation about it when all the vax stuff started because I was definitely wary about the COVID vaccines. And then we
Mm.
started looking, and she started saying, "Yeah, but this is, the broader picture is that vaccines generally they're quite damaging now. Maybe not so much when we were young, but they've really upped the sort of the ingredients and it's awful what's in them.
Yeah.
So for us, it was a real moment that kind of brought us together. And I hadn't thought about the vaccines even, up until that
Mhm.
point.
Mhm.
Um, but also it's really interesting what you're saying about the balance in the masculine and the feminine roles as well, because you know uh, the feminist movement has done a lot of damage. I think I might get caned for that. I don't know, but
No,
I
I mean,
feel it has.
as a woman, I'll agree. It really has. I've
Yeah,
got, yeah, it has, yeah.
it's this massive lie that you have to have everything to be happy. You have to
Mm.
have the career. You have to have the perfect children. You have to have this, that, and the other. And again, that's caused I think just a huge amount of division in families, and it's weakened the family sort of the family structure.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, our situation is my wife. She enjoys. She likes to work. She's got her own business. She's a speech therapist anyway, and a psycholinguist by trade. So, but she does what she does from home. But she loves working with children. When she's Russian. When she was in Moscow, she had her own nursery,
Mm.
and um, and so now she works as a speech therapist with children when just as and when people need her. But we actually also run a book club for Russian speakers, but I read books in English for the kids
Oh,
to
brilliant.
help them. And again, it's yeah, we run that together, and it's just it's nice. We do have a really good balance, and it is really really valuable. I don't know if I would have an. I was married before. My ex-wife earns a lot more than I did, but I never really had an issue with that. It didn't bother me particularly. And eventually, anyway, she sort of stopped working, and I set up my own business, and it kind of the roles reversed anyway. But it was kind of a fairly organic process, honestly. It wasn't anything else. But yeah, it's really fascinating the way I think that the gender roles have been almost reversed, that men have become a little bit more effeminate, I think.
Mm.
And I know
Mhm.
there's all sorts of there's lots of hormones potentially in the water, female hormones and things like that, and what have you, that's partly doing that job. But it's also when you look on social media and you see the guy with the man bun, I'm just like, oh god, please help me.
I think also though, with like, there's an amazing book called The Heroine's Journey,
Yeah,
which I really recommend anyone read, especially women, called The Heroine's Journey. And I think, you know, the feminist movement, like it's made, and other aspects of society have made men almost be scared to stand in their power
yeah,
for, and like I also want to state here that, you know, the masculine in its toxic
yeah,
form,
yeah,
you know, when women are abused,
yeah,
and the strength of men, and the power that men have is used to abuse women, is the very real thing.
yeah,
Like that
absolutely.
is absolutely a real thing. But men have almost been molded to be too scared to stand in their strength. I like to think of it like the feminine is like a dance, like I
Yeah,
imagine like a woman like dancing and flowing, and then the masculine like stands around like holding the space for the woman to move without like moving too
yeah,
far out of the boundaries, like so that she can harness her energy, harness
yeah,
her flow. And men are like too scared to almost like hold that power for fear of it being seen as too much or too overpowering. But actually, a
Yeah.
woman wants to be held in that way. Like
Yeah.
if she's really honest with herself, she wants to be held in that way. And yeah, men are scared to, and women in turn are like controlling. Like I remember like thinking about it, I can't send my husband to the supermarket to buy like I don't know, I don't really go to the supermarket, but I'm just trying to think like even a packet of apples. I'm like, make sure that you buy that exact packet that's on this shelf. You can't
Yeah.
like let a man decide which packet of apples to buy. Like everything is so controlled by
Yeah.
women. It's exhausting as well, and it
Yeah.
emasculates men. So yeah, it's
I,
a bit of a mess, but it's also, exciting to.
I kind of saw a meme that almost relates to that, and it was it was until written by a guy. It was until I got married, I didn't know there was a wrong way to put milk in the fridge.
Yes,
It's just it made me laugh, but
exactly.
it's true. There is
Exactly.
that sort of control element behind it, which I hadn't really considered before. I must admit. Yeah.
No wonder like men are like, oh, she nags me all the time. Well, like, yeah, she does, but like, where's that come from? And
Yeah.
there's got to be a lot of like deeper work to fix it. But when you can, and
Yeah.
you can come at it from a place of like mutual respect and like, it's that whole thing about relationships is really fascinating for me, and really I think the basis of fixing a lot within society if we can get that figured out, because then of course it acts as the correct role model for our children as well. So
And that is so vital. I mean, they need to see a strong sort of core.
yeah.
One of the best books I read for really for men but aimed at relationships with women was The Way of the Superior Man by David Data, and I
Mm-hmm.
learned so much from that book.
Mm-hmm.
And when it talks about when your partner's maybe angry and she's pushing you away, just don't back away, lean into it,
Yeah.
lean into that. And that for me was a massive like just eye opener. It was like
Mm-hmm.
a light bulb moment, and my relationship with my wife actually changed after that as well. And it's just, yeah, I mean, you're right. We do tend to run scared from being seen as maybe controlling or, and and we shouldn't. And that then does manifest itself in behaviours that are maybe not as masculine as they should be.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
maybe
Yeah.
being petulant or being, just yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, very interesting.
So what do you do? So are you still sort of working as a health practitioner now?
No, so then what happened was by throughout 2022, I started to sort of have some feelings around doTERRA that didn't
Mhm.
feel good to me anymore, didn't feel aligned. Like one of the things I loved about it was that I could help other people make money.
Yeah,
Like I loved that. And actually, for me, within that model, I'd been in it 6 years. I was making a lot of money, but
yeah,
I was seeing that most people actually couldn't.
right.
And the compensation plan model, but also yeah, mainly for me, the compensation plan model, and then people, well, there were other factors around availability of products and things like that. But so I'd already kind of stepped back from like really speaking about the business side of that, and I just had a lot of residual income coming in around the product side of it. Um, but I can't do things that don't feel aligned, that don't
Yeah,
feel true to me. And I remember in the summer of that year, 2022, I was standing in the kitchen in the Lake District. We went on holiday, and I started crying. And my husband said to me, "What is it?" And I just said, I just don't want to hold this anymore. All of our livelihood came pretty much through doTERRA, and it was amazing and,
yeah,
very abundant. But I've had the feeling like I had to keep it alive, and this was another thing feeding into our
yeah.
relationship. Like I've been essentially the main breadwinner for many, many years, and I just didn't want to feel like I was kind of in a way beholden to that,
Yes,
but it
yeah,
didn't feel aligned to me either anymore. And that's when Josh said to me, "I'm going to get a job," because it wasn't. He felt that wasn't right for us anymore to be in that
yeah.
dynamic. So he started applying for jobs back in sales, and he now does sales for computer software, which he is loving. But it's funny, I'm reading, by the way, nearly finished. I'm completely addicted to it, The Surrender Experiment, because you
Oh,
recommended it.
yes, it's a great book, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. I had my mini surrender experiment experience yesterday with the window cleaner. I'd written on this piece of paper, I need a window cleaner because we haven't had our windows cleaned for
Yeah.
like years. And and we're going away to Ibiza and we've got house sitters coming. I was like, I really have to get rid of these cobwebs out the window. And so I wrote it on the piece of paper in the morning. And then when I got back quite late last night, like 7:30, there was a window cleaner at the like, why is there a window cleaner at that
Yeah.
time of night, right? Cleaning my neighbor's windows. So I walked over to him and I was like, I need a window cleaner. And he's like, I know, I used to clean the windows of your house before you moved in.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's been a long time. And I was like, yeah. And then he was like, I said, can you do it now? And he's like, okay. And then next time you had this guy cleaning my windows and he knew my house and everything. I was like, oh, that's like a much smaller example than Michael Singer's incredible
Yeah.
experience. But what happened once we'd said that out loud, it then set off this chain of events of, you know, I'd been aware of Healy, the quantum frequency device,
Oh,
for a
my
number
sister.
of years.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
got that. Yeah.
Um, and then it came more and more into my field during 2022. And then I'm a generator in human design, and it just came in like a hit one night. I said to Josh, I've got to give up my doTERRA business because you're not allowed to do both.
Yeah.
I've got to give up my doTERRA business and start Healy. Like, it's so right. Are you losing me?
No, no, I've got you.
Oh, oh, okay. The connection was unstable. Um, I've got to, nobody's doing it in the UK properly at all. I knew that. And I'm pretty like in love with the idea of the product, and
Yeah.
the founders of the company are so incredible. And so that's what I did. And yeah, so I've been doing that for a year and a half. And yeah, my team grew really quickly. Like, we brought in 2 million euros of sales last year
Wow.
into Healy. Yeah, it's amazing for Healy. No,
Yeah.
it's no, it's great. So, my skills like do lend very well to network marketing, despite my
Yeah.
original hatred for it.
It's so funny. I mean, network marketing's got this really bad rap, and there are a lot of people out there that have a lot of bad practices, and that goes absolutely
Yes.
without saying.
Yeah.
But as you said, it's a fantastic way to help people make money.
Yeah.
And if it's done properly and it's done with heart and it's done with integrity, then there's nothing wrong with it. I was
No.
in denial for the longest time. I was a network marketer. I really
Yes.
was.
What did you
And
sell? What did you
well,
sell?
I was into the crypto side of things. So there'd be crypto
Okay.
projects that would come up, and I would introduce people to them and whatnot.
Okay. Yeah.
And then last year, I was doing something with a company called Manifest, which is an educational product.
Hmm.
And someone messaged me, and she'd been talking to a mutual friend, and she said, "We wondered when Richard would realise he's a network marketer."
I know that's what the woman said when I left doTERRA. She's like, one of the corporate ladies. She's like, "Oh, you're now a serial network marketer." I'm like, "No,
Oh no!
I'm really not."
Yeah,
I just really love these I love doTERRA, and I now really love this product. And if I love something, I can
yeah,
advocate for it. And I love building community. Like, I just love it. So
yeah. No, I mean,
yeah,
it's a great thing, and it
yeah,
can be a lot of fun, and you can make really good money from it. I mean, there's
yeah,
absolutely no question about that.
yeah. No, you
And
can.
Healy's a really good product. I do know it. My sister's had it. She's used it on me before now.
Yeah,
It's absolutely fantastic. I love
it
it.
is.
Yeah,
And it's great. What I love about Healy is that you can build a team and build like that aspect of it, but you can just sell a Healy and make somewhere between 200 and 500 euros per sale.
yeah,
And so that was the aspect of it that felt really good to me, is that I could genuinely go to anyone and say, if you want a Healy, hopefully you want it just
mm,
because you want it, but then you can
yeah,
have a link and make bits of money here and there that could make a difference to your family.
yeah.
So yeah, I know. So I'm doing that now. And then I'm also writing my course, Surrender to Intimacy. And I've got an ebook that's like £10 that I have that teaches people how to grow food. And so all of those things that I spoke about, really
Yeah.
the through line of my work is sovereignty and freedom. And then my mission is just really to support mainly women. That's okay to say because they're just my
No, no,
audience,
no,
but
not at all.
mainly women just like believe in their worth, believe that they're
Yeah,
worthy of, creating and building the life of their
yeah,
desires, of their potential. Because
yeah,
so many of us are not living our potential because we hold on to stories and beliefs that are not ours. They're not meant for us, but we have gained over our lifetime or generationally. So yeah.
and so how do you, you've got a 14-year-old and a 10-year-old, obviously Caleb and
Mm.
how do you balance all these things? There's quite a few strands there that you're talking about. How do you balance all
Yeah.
that and sort of keep your sanity?
Honestly, sometimes not very well. And I kind of had this thought in my head that I'm not really going to like achieve my fullest potential until I'm 50. So it's another 8 years. But I'm okay with that. I'm here for the ride. But um, yeah, I mean, always for me, my children are a priority, which is why we have moved to all the places that we
Yeah,
have. And yeah, like both my children still sleep in the bed with us. Like we
yeah,
don't have any free time ever
yeah,
to ourselves. Well, unless we make it, we try and make once every other month to have a weekend. But to start with home education, as I think with most people, the bit the main thing for me that made me realize that we could home educate was that when I thought about exams that I did and I did very well in,
yeah,
the reason I'd done really well was because I could read, I could write, I had the power of critical thought,
yeah,
and I could remember. I could
yeah,
memorize content, right? Like
yeah,
that. They were the four things. It wasn't the hours and hours and hours I had at school. It was those four things. So I thought,
yeah,
okay, if I can make sure that they can read proficiently, write, they have critical thought, that wasn't going to be a problem in our home, and they could memorize things,
yeah,
then I could get them through exams if they choose to do that. So, but still we were like, okay, how are we going to home educate? And my husband wasn't working when we started doing that, and I wasn't having to work a lot. So we had this schedule where I'm sure all home education starts like this. We're like, okay, we're going to get up and we're going to start at 9 a.m. and we'd sit there
so, yeah. It sounds
until,
familiar.
yeah,
It lasted about a day.
yeah, I think for us it lasted a bit longer, but like 2 months maybe. We downloaded this, it's a great piece of content. It's called Gather Round Homeschool.
Yeah.
Have you heard of it?
No, I haven't.
It's
No.
it's really good. You can like buy a topic, so let's say oceans, and then you get all the content around that, and then you get the activities dependent on the age of the child within the pack.
Okay.
So we could do the same topic for both of them, and Caleb would like read the topic of the day, and then
Yeah.
he'd have some written work and some maths around it, and Savannah at that point would just have some like colouring or whatever. But
Yeah.
that's what we do. So we just was working through those. And then it got to the point where we realized that we didn't want to do that. We actually wanted to be our children's parents, not their teachers.
Yeah.
So for us, we got a tutor. We found someone who was willing to come to the house during COVID, which was really important. I wanted that face on face. I didn't want it on Zoom, especially for Savannah as she was younger, but so with Caleb then. And so Jenny would come and do like 20 minutes 3 times a week with Savannah and an hour and 40 with Caleb 3 times a week. And they did English, maths, and Spanish during that
Yeah.
time. And that carried on for a long time, about 2.5, 3 years. And then Caleb, Jenny said to us that Caleb was too advanced for her because she was a primary teacher.
Uh-huh.
So then I've got this amazing woman that I'd recommend to anyone that has this incredible tutor agency. She's a tutor herself, and she gets tutors for different
Okay.
needs from around the country. And so Caleb then started, so he wouldn't start GCSE curriculum until September. And this is the other thing that I find fascinating about home ed, because it's one-on-one,
Yeah.
they get they really excel if they're doing
Yeah.
something that they
Yeah.
enjoy. So he's already finished pretty much. He could take the exam if he wanted to, his English literature GCSE curriculum and Spanish and English language. And then he's kind of on par with everyone else with his maths, because he was quite behind from the Steiner school with his maths.
Yeah.
So he's at the level that he would be at. So he does 4 hours during the week. So that, and then the rest of the time is free time. And Savannah, so this is where I'm saying it's
Yeah.
changing. Savannah started to feel the pull to go back to the Steiner school.
Right.
So she has just done that 4 weeks ago. She's gone back
Okay.
for the social aspect, because where we live,
Yeah.
the home ed community for us in terms of social interaction, I've got friends in New Forest down.
Yeah.
Is it called New Forest? No, Forest Row, not New
Okay.
Forest.
Okay.
Forest
Okay.
Row. Do you know
In
Forest Row?
Sussex. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
Twinstead. Yeah.
amazing home ed community.
I've heard
Just
that before. Yeah.
yeah. Oh gosh, if like so much going on for them. But where we are, it is very limited, and the social aspect has been the hardest part for us
Yeah.
actually. And Savannah is very sociable, and she just really wanted to try school, and she's actually loving it. Like, it's quite fun going back as well as a home ed, because and she knows she doesn't have to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
She actually said it to me yesterday. She's like, all the other children have to go, but I don't have to. I choose to. And I love that for her,
Yeah. That's great, isn't
Like,
it?
it's a
But this is what
choice.
life's about. It should be about choice.
Yeah.
It should be, and it's such an important part. And it's great, very empowering to realize for her to realize she has that
Yeah.
choice as well.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, so then the rest of the home ed time, so like they were doing, and Caleb still does like 4 hours a week, and the rest is just, we just like live together as a
Yeah.
unit, like coexist together. And like Caleb, he'll say like, have I done the right thing being at home? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, look at the relationship you've got with your sister, like, which he
Yeah.
wouldn't have.
Yeah.
No relationship is more important than that relationship with your sibling.
Yeah.
Like, I've got to spend all this time with you, which I'm so grateful for. Like, I'm
Yeah.
so grateful for it, and how close we all are as a family, and all of the other things that you've learned and experienced. And, so it's just, it just feels so natural. It feels so natural. And it makes me really sad. I saw this, it wasn't a meme, but it was like a quote saying that, most people get up, and you may have seen it and you might remember it better than me, but they get up really early, exhausted,
Yeah.
right? Don't like as a family, they see each other for like 30 minutes as they get ready. Then they
Yeah.
go off and spend all day in an environment, all of them that they hate,
Yeah.
to come back exhausted, eat a meal and go to bed. And then at the weekend, they're like spending all their time trying to catch up with home jobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how most people exist, and like
Oh,
how what most people's children's experiences,
yeah.
going to nursery at the age of like 6 months old. And I'm not like passing judgment on that. I mean, people feel like they have to in order to survive
Well, yeah.
financially. So
But people don't realize there's alternatives, do they? I mean, it's great. I mean, my wife's taken us down to the beach today with a couple of friends. So,
nice.
so that's where they are, and
Yeah.
and it's the third day in a row actually they've been to the beach.
Yeah.
So
Beautiful
it's like
weather.
about 20, 25, 26 degrees here at the moment. It's beautiful weather.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, it's incredible. And even if like, Savannah's back at school and Caleb's considering if he wants to go back, because they're opening up an upper school in the Steiner school, like
yeah,
we're going to next weekend, we're going to Ibiza for 2 weeks. And for me, like that's just a non-negotiable with the school. I was just like, she's coming back, but by the way, we're going to Ibiza for 2 weeks, and
yeah.
we're doing this and we're doing that. Like next week, she might want to go to the agility class on Thursday in there's a little like gladiator style
Okay.
agility home ed group. She might want to go
Yeah.
to that. So, I am the decider with my children of what their life looks like, not a system. And
Yes, absolutely.
um,
Well, and this is the thing you realize when you step into home ed, isn't it? It's from that point of view alone, it's very empowering just to realize
yeah,
all of a sudden you are the arbiter of what your your children do, or they are. I mean, you know, we unschool, so they choose what they want to do. They follow their passions, their hobbies, whatever they might be at the time, and we
Yeah.
work everything around that. And it's, you know, they in some respects they have no idea how lucky they
Mm.
are either. You know, I mean, you and I, we both went through the school system. My oldest daughter's 20. She's been all through the school system. She's at
Yeah.
university.
Yeah.
If I had known then what I know now,
Mm.
she wouldn't have been. But
Yeah.
you know, but she's fine. She's happy. She's studying marine biology and she's loving
Ah,
what she's doing. But anyway,
amazing.
I think we're getting quite the time's getting on a bit. So I'm just going to sort of say it's been really lovely chatting to you, Rochelle. Thank you ever so much for giving up your time today to come and have a chat. And for anybody that's interested in the Healy, we'll put the details down below because, like I said, I've used my sister's one and it's fantastic. They work really, really well. And as we know, everything in the universe is frequency, isn't it? So
It is. Everything is energy. Yeah, exactly. It's pretty amazing. So yeah, no, I'd love to connect around anything, parenting, anything. Best place really is to find me on Instagram. It's just rochelle.a.hubbard. But yeah, as I said, love community. So I'd love to connect. And yeah, thank you for having me on here.
thanks, Michelle.
All
Take
right.
care.
Bye.
Bye bye.